to see what the reaction is out there. Steve Savard calls games for the St. Louis Rams and the Rams Radio Network, and he joins us now with reaction from St. Louis. They have a new quarterback. The Eagles have a new quarterback. Was there a winner and a loser in this deal, Steve?
Mike, I think that's still to be determined, and there's so many different factors here. Most notably is Sam's health. I think generally in St. Louis, people feel like the Rams have done well. If nothing else, they've lightened their cap load and saved $11 million in cap space. And I think the clock is ticking on the Jeff Fisher regime here. I'm not saying that he's 1 foot out the door, but going into your fourth season, not made the playoffs, winning becomes a priority here, and they need some cap space. I think Sam Bradford is a quarterback you can win a Super Bowl with a team that's commensurate with his ability around him. But what remains to be seen is, can he stay healthy? And I think the cap hit was just too much for the Rams once Sam and his agent decided they weren't interested in restructuring the contract.
Steve, obviously a lot of people have questions about the health. How much of a concern was the health? Is that a legitimate concern in Phil? Should that be a legitimate concern for Eagles fans? Is this a guy that you think a team can count on?
I don't, Mike, I want to say, I'm a Sam Bradford fan. I think he's got the goods to win and win big in the NFL, but the problem is he's played about 50 out of 80 games. He's played only 7 of the last 32, and the two plays in which he was lost for the season each of the last 2 years really look kind of innocent, to be honest with you. So the Rams have not been able to count on. Now, when he has played, he's played pretty well. We forget in 2010, he took the Rams from 1 win to 7-9 and almost to the playoffs and was the Rookie of the Year. 2012, Jeff Fisher's first year, he led the Rams to almost 500 and a 4-1-1 record in the NFC West. So he's capable. The question is, will he stay healthy? And the problem is this. I think we all wrapped our arms around St. Louis the fact that that's why this was such a shocker. We had wrapped our arms around the fact that Sam was going to be back. And we were making the best of it. But the truth of the matter is that every time Sam was going to get hit from preseason game number 1, we were going to be holding our breath. And that's just the way it is, and especially if you look at the injury that knocked him out of the Cleveland preseason game last year. So if he can clear that hurdle, I think he can be a very productive quarterback for the Eagles.
Steve, what do you think some of the things that this Eagles offense, I was still reading a lot about him last night, and it seemed like, 3 different offensive coordinators he had out there his first 3 years. Didn't have a great offensive line. The weapons were, not great in St. Louis while he was there. But now he's coming to an offense, and it seemed like in St. Louis they tried to run a no-huddle up-tempo at time, and he did well there. And we all know he ran the spread at Oklahoma and did that to perfection almost. So do you think him being in Chip Kelly's offense will bring out the best in him?
I think he can run. In fact, I think Brian Schottenheimer took a lot of heat here. Given what Ryan was dealt, I think he did a fairly good job. I really do. I think some of the criticism was overblown. I will say this, however. I think Brian could have been more aggressive and creative with Sam when he was healthy. And I think one of the things Sam can do is run an up-tempo, no-huddle offense. And I think that the Rams just didn't do it often enough for my liking. So I think Sam's capable of that. You don't know how mobile he's going to be. Once upon a time, he was very good rolling out, throwing the football, particularly in the red zone. You don't know if that's a hurdle to clear because he's had 2 ACLs now, back-to-back. But no, if you're asking me if he can run an up-tempo offense and no huddle, I think he's very adept at doing that. I really do. I think he could be a hit in that type of offense.
Steve Savard, the voice of the Rams here on the Rams Radio Network, 97.3 ESPN, talking about Sam Bradford. When he hurt his ACL last year, I had read that he was almost, ready to give up. He was in tears. I mean, did you see a guy change after that second ACL? I mean, is this a guy that really had to do some soul searching to see whether he wanted to be an NFL quarterback anymore?
We weren't around Sam a lot. What we saw was after the first ACL. I mean, he was devastated enough for that. And then what we saw was a guy that came back bigger and stronger and had more zip on his fastball last year in training camp. We were very excited. Kenny Britt had come over. Let's be honest here. Sam Bradford has been dealt some tough cards coming into the NFL. He was drafted by a team with not much offensive talent. You mentioned 3 different offensive coordinators in his first 3 years, different systems. Offensive line problems throughout his career. So it's not exactly like Sam has been blessed to play in the most talented team in the NFL with a lot of breaks. That said, we were looking forward to seeing what Sam could do last year, coming off an entire offseason in which he worked on his strength and gained some weight, had zip on his fastball, and what would have been the best supporting cast around him. Unfortunately, we never saw that because in preseason week 3 he goes down again. So, it's been a difficult road for Sam. Through no fault of his own, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. But I think there will always be a healthy curiosity around St. Louis. What might Sam have done in 2014 or moving forward 2015, because we assume the cast will be even better around him in Jeff Fisher's 4th year, at least the rest of the football team.
We look at the numbers that he played in 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. You were calling those games. Were you watching a guy that was playing towards an elite level? Was he becoming that guy that season?
The arrow was ascending, Mike, when he got injured in Week 7 at Carolina in 2013. 2012 was his best year in the league. He stayed healthy. His numbers were very good. And it was a first-year offense. He was learning with Brian Schottenheimer. Going into year 2, the Rams struggled early in September as a team. Got off to a slow start. But those 3 games before he got hurt, including the Week 7 game at Carolina, what I saw from Sam was a much more confident pocket passer, a guy who understood where his opportunities were, and he was starting to play really good football the moment he went down in Carolina in Week 7 of 2013. So I think the arrow is pointing up. What remains to be seen is, can he pick up where he left off? It won't be easy. He's got to shake off a lot of rust. It's one thing to run routes in the offseason or OTAs in the preseason, but when the bullets fly for real, it's a different deal. But let me be real clear here about Sam's strengths. He's a smart guy. He works his butt off. First guy in, last guy out of the facility. And he's an extremely accurate passer, okay, when you give him time in the pocket. What remains to be seen to me is with 2 ACLs, when things break down, will Sam still show that same poise in the pocket like he was showing before he got hurt 2 years ago?
Steve, I'll ask you this about Nick Foles. I don't know how much you've seen of him or how much you obviously pay attention to what he has done. Is there excitement or some concern? Do they think that Foles is the difference between being a 7-9 team and being a playoff team?
I think really what Rams fans and what we in the media kind of believe is that the Rams don't have to have spectacular quarterback play to be a playoff team and a Super Bowl contender. They need steady, consistent, reliable quarterback play, which unfortunately they haven't gotten the last 2 years. The defense is now where Jeff Fisher wants it. Greg Williams is here. This will be his 2nd year running it. They're going to be a snootful. Jeff Fisher wants to pound the football. They haven't been able to do that consistently. But now they've got some more money. They can probably rebuild that offensive line in a better fashion than they could have if Sam were here and counting 16 and change against the salary cap. So I don't think Nick Foles has to come in and be a savior. I don't think he has to play at Peyton Manning or Tom Brady level. I think he has to play solid, smart football and be able to play week after week. I think this will be Jeff Fisher's best team around a quarterback, and if Nick can stay healthy, I think he has a chance to be successful.
Steve, last one for you. Was there shock? Was this stunning and shocking when you saw this news yesterday?
I think it's been rumored enough, and I think we've been around long enough now to know that we shouldn't be stunned or shocked by anything. But I tell you, it was a great end around, a great end run by Les Snead and Jeff Fisher in the last couple of weeks. I do believe when the season ended, they wanted Sam back. I think at some point, like I said, I think the cap number combined with the questions about his health became too much. They had us convinced in the last 2 weeks that Sam was the guy. They went as far as to say Frank Cignetti would not have been hired as offensive coordinator without Sam's blessing. That tells you that he's your guy. So I think we were a little surprised at the timing of it. But had you told us 2 months ago this might be a possibility, I don't think anybody would have been surprised.
I'll ask you this real quick. There was a lot of people here that think Kelly made this move to use Bradford to move up further. There had been some talk that the teams in the top half of the draft valued Bradford more than some of the quarterbacks, Mariota or Winston. Were the Rams intrigued or interested in moving Bradford to move up for one of those guys?
Don't know. I mean, Jeff and Les have played it so close to the vest. I don't think anybody's ruled it out. It's been discussed in the media that maybe ultimately the Rams still have their eyes on Winston or Mariota. Maybe this is a way to get closer to that. I don't know. But on paper, I think you bring in a quarterback that's had success in the NFL. I think the Rams believe they can win with Nick Foles, and he's $11.5 million cheaper against the salary cap.
Yep.
And I know he was hurt last year, but compared to Sam Bradford, he's a lot healthier. So I think we take it at face value, but I don't think we rule anything out at this point.
All right, Steve Savard, the voice of the Rams, KMOV, of course, on the Rams radio network out there in St. Louis. Nick Foles, a Ram, Sam Bradford, an Eagle. And, yes, it needs to all play out because it has been a wild couple of days. We're only on day 2 of free agency. Thank you, Steve, so much.
You bet, Mike.